Originally, this video was going to be about gacha tribalism, but F all that, let's talk about the great AOD filtering that needed to be studied. Because the build-up for the Angels, ever since they got leaked before the game's release, was just insane. And all it did was just explode the cap of so many people. Now obviously, right, in the beginning, the Angels of Delusions were just concept art. We didn't know if they were officially gonna keep looking like that from here to all the way on release. Now, of course, I was terrified too. I thought stuff was going to change, but the only thing that really changed was names. And, well, the names grew on me over time, so wasn't really much of a big deal. However, I think the cap of this type of hatred for these characters overall, and this is for the Angels and the short gals in general, really started with Fufu coming out. Now, the first limited was Queen Yi, but for some reason nobody was batting an eye to her at all, because originally ZZZ, the community, was super based. Nobody cared what others really liked like that at the time. It was supposed to be the based culture game with the jiggle physics and all that shit, right? Until we got to season 2, and then season 2 brought in a lot of new people from the other games, and obviously just from gacha in general. And that's when we started to get a lot of heat for these type of characters, specifically when Fufu came in and people were basically debating on, is Fufu this, is Fufu that? And well, it came out from her story request herself. She is not a kid, she's just small, and people were trying to say this doesn't count, even though it's literally right from her own story quest. But I digress, and I genuinely think that was when the start of the hate, a lot of animosity to those characters, began with Fufu, because new people came to the game. And the ODU were also in the crossfire too, because of legit the way they looked. People were really already saying, oh man, if you like the Angels of Delusion, because they were getting their art, like little bits and pieces of the art. And people were already saying, oh, here we go, when this idol faction comes out, everyone, the weirdos, are going to say a lot of crazy stuff about them. Ooh, so already it was stirring up the pot. The pot was getting stirred up with these characters coming out. And then the next set came out, Dylan and Zhao. Dylan wasn't too bad. I think people really understood that Dylan was, well, she's a worker and she's mature, so I think people were fine with Dylan. I didn't really see that much animosity towards her. The person who got the most animosity was Zhao. All because Zhao is canonically the shortest character in the game. And well, when people look at Zhao, there's like a couple people, right? You can look at Zhao in basically the cute way, which is majority of people, or you can look in her the other way, which is basically people who obviously play the game, but they're just gooners, right? Like what else are you gonna really say? They're gooners. They're gonna enjoy whatever they like. It's just the nature of gacha games and other media in general, right? And since all that did was just generate even more animosity to these characters, if they ever dare to come out with them, if the ZZ devs ever dare to drop these characters. And then the big screen happened, which I quite literally figured this was going to happen. The Game Awards. And guess what? You know what the Game Awards is. The Game Awards is a place where a lot of normies basically sit down and watch these reveals. They don't really care about some people care about the rewards, but most people are mainly there for the reveals of new games. And guess who got revealed at the Game Awards? You bet your ass it was the Angels of Delusion. And there was definitely a lot of heat right there when that happened. I mean, there were people going back and forth being like, this is typical, right? You like this, you're this, you like that, you're that already. So the Angel of Delusion, basically their timeline, they were leaked before the game's release. Then Fufu came out, sparking even more drama for no reason specific because of other people. And then Zhao came out, sparking even more flame to the fire. Then they got the biggest popularity boost because of the Game Awards. The most normie of normie place ever to show off those characters. So now the Angels of Delusion got shown off on the big screen. They already got revealed, leaked before the game released. And now it was time for them to finally drop and have their own stream. The stream did amazing. I loved everything about their stream. They're basically VTubers, which was really good, just like idols, virtual idols. And then the biggest thing that happened, the Suna maid skin. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. The Suna maid skin had to have been the biggest filter I've ever seen happen in a gacha game. There were EN content creators, and EN, as, not even just content creators, EN as a whole was crashing out so hard because of this skin and saying the game is going to EOS. What are the devs doing? Are they trying to cater to a fan base? And, well, realistically, that's what all these games are doing at the end of the day. They're catering to a fan base. And ZZ clearly has a lot of fan bases they're catering to. They're catering to multiple ones. But at the same time, in the end, they're catering to, well, their core audience, the Gooners. The ones that will buy these skins. I bought all of them because, well, I'm just like that. I love the Angels of Delusion. I was always hyped for them in the beginning. And, yeah, it's just... this was the biggest filter ever. There were so many crash outs, and people still to this day, the Angels came out in February. It is now May, and there are still people going crazy talking about them. It's insane how rent-free these characters live in these people's heads. And you know what made it even worse? The fact that Norma, oh my god, Norma, oh my lord, dude. People were not happy with Norma, and it's just amazing to see. So, once again, the Angels of Delusion sparked the greatest filter I've ever seen in a gacha game, except for Blue Archive, but Blue Archive is a whole different beast. But for the big 3D gacha games, ZZZ, the Angel of Delusion, till this day, has been the biggest filter I've ever seen for a game. And well, that is the biggest filter of Angels of Delusion, ZZ, whatever you want to call it. So, I don't know. This was a random video. I'm just yapping at this point. Hope y'all like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.